Plenty of time to come and be served at the refreshment center before showtime.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
You do get old.
Yeah, and it's quickly.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm just that guy now. I'm getting old. Things I can't control. And I'm just going to start yelling at clouds.
But we still have the movies. We still have the movies, right?
We do indeed. And we have a doozy this week.
The Northman.
This is
it needs to be said. It needs to be said with gravitas. This title.
Oh, this has a lot of gravitas. Yeah. This is boy. I championed for this the minute I saw the trailer, and part of it I think is because I'm very fascinated with that Scandinavian Viking lore, and maybe it's just the 0.02% of Nordic ancestry I have in me. I don't.
Even if you're not though. Who doesn't love Conan the Barbarian? And this has many shades of Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, you want to listen on the surface? I'm going to say straight up, this is the Lion King, but you scratch beneath it, and there's a lot more going on here. So this is a movie that I don't think that you can judge based on the trailer.
You know, those of you listening will be able to tell that Christina is not with us.
Oh, yes. Welcome everybody. By the way,
yeah, welcome
once
to the show.
Again. Jim, we're just dropping in here, so you were picking up the tail end of a conversation. But yes, we have no Christina this week.
No Christina, but I'm sure she would point out that this story, which is based on the legend of Amleth, this is the character in the movie, that legend was direct inspiration for Hamlet.
But you can't, if you don't know that, like you just go, oh, this is Hamlet. And it's like, no, this is the original. This is kind of like, somebody watching Dune. This is like Star Wars. No, actually, Dune came along before Star Wars. Yeah. You have to realize where the references come from. So, what are we pairing up with this? Because this is a monster in and of itself. But
there's more Northmen to be dealt with in our second feature.
The 13th Warrior.
I've never seen The 13th Warrior before this viewing.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I am hoping by the time that we are done that everybody runs out and not only watches The Northman, but also The 13th Warrior. But now that we've done these, watch these back to back, it's pretty heavy-handed, and I wish that we had chosen something a little lighter on the back end.
One more so than the other. I think The 13th Warrior is a lot of fun.
But it is fun, but part of the reason that I wanted to do it is because I remember it being very dark and very broody.
Maybe it was, but compared to our first feature, it's like Mary Poppins.
It's a comedy. So I think that we would have maybe had more fun speaking about Eric the Viking but listen, whatever. It is what it is at this point. 13th Warrior on the back end, Antonio Banderas rocking the guy liner, by the way.
The makeup, because he's supposed to be an Arab. This would never fly today. And I'm surprised that it flew in 1999. Well, it didn't, because this was not a success, this movie.
I know, which is a sad. This is a very underappreciated movie.
But it was comical that he's playing an Arab. He makes no change to his accent or vocal inflection or anything.
He's like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood. He just goes with it.
And he's got dark makeup on.
Well, that's what I said. He's got guy liner on, but yeah, he has facial, they actually,
which seems to disappear as the movie goes on.
You can only keep that up for so long.
But then again, reading some of the backstory, how they fired McTiernan at one point and Crichton came in, but we'll get there. We'll get
there. That's we got a lot to unpack this week. That's all I'm going to say right now. So Robert Eggers. We have no news, by the way, so let's just go.
Let's go.
I got nothing. Robert Eggers, this is his third movie. I know of The Lighthouse. It's a movie that I have not committed myself to because I heard it's pretty heavy-handed. But after watching this movie, I want to see everything and anything this man has ever touched.
And The Northman, it really does kind of play in that horror vein, although not a horror movie per se, but it is extremely dark and foreboding.
I'm going to tip my hand right now. Wow. Just wow. This movie blew me away. It is impressive.
I have to say it is impressive. A little overwhelming, though. Last week, and I don't know if this made it into the episode, but Christina said her son saw it and said it was very serious. And I will back that. It is extremely serious.
It's serious. This is, it's completely immersive. It's visceral. It is atmospheric. It is just, it's gritty. It is in your face, and it is gorgeous. This is why we go to the cinema.
Now, it's not fun. I wouldn't call it a fun night out at the movies, but it is engrossing. It definitely is engrossing.
Yes. Listen, I had to dig into my thesaurus to come up with enough superfluous adjectives. And then I had to, of course, go to my dictionary to make sure that I use superfluous correctly. So it's been a long week. I cannot say enough good things about this.
Well, before we get into the Northman, let me just say, for those of you who are wondering why we're not covering Doctor Strange this week, as it is opening.
Oh, I know.
As we record this, just circumstances are what they are. We will be reviewing Doctor Strange next week. So fear not, we will be addressing Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think we want people, well, not only because our schedule is chaotic. I don't even know when I'm going to get a chance to see it this coming week. This was off air that I've got other stuff going on.
So you're going to just have to hope that you don't, by happenstance, see anything or anybody says anything to you that will spoil it.
People are already ruining it. You can't be on any kind of Facebook group with that has
I'm staying off. I am not even touching my phone until I see this movie.
No, I know it's going to be really hard. And we can't be alone. I know, this is already broken records as far as the Thursday night and whatnot, but give it a week because we do spoil stuff and we are going to spoil the Northman. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you have any inkling of maybe I want to go see this, I highly suggest go to the theater, see this, and then come back and listen to our review because we are going to tear it apart. They're berserkers. Listen, there is nothing clean about this movie.
This is the issue that I had with it, but we'll get into it now. Northman. It opens up with some narration that sounds like Mako from Conan the Barbarian. Conan was my king. This is his story. Come on, you got to remember. Everybody out there remembers the narrator. But that's how the Northman opens. It's got this very heavy-handed voice telling you what you're about to see. And it's got Ethan Hawke, surprise, surprise.
I know.
As the Norse king.
How is it that this guy, we haven't seen him in years, and now he's like...
Now he's all over the place, right?
I know. I love it.
This is how all these revenge stories begin. The father has to die and set the child on a lifelong revenge quest.
Right.
So you get introduced to Ethan Hawke.
War Raven is king...
War Raven is his name?
Or Orvandil. Yeah, we're going to just butcher this.
I'm just going to call him King Ethan.
King Ethan.
King Ethan comes home after a long, arduous battle. And his wife, the queen, is waiting for him, played by Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
And his son, Amleth, who is 11, 12 years old?
Maybe, give or take. Yeah.
King Ethan is like the hardest, toughest Norseman that you can think of, killing left and right. And yet his son, Prince Valiant, the page boy with his
Wow, that was
hello, father, welcome home.
Father's back. Father's back. Could you bring me a severed head?
And it sets off right away because one of the first things his wife says to him is, will your brother be gracing us with his presence? So any normal moviegoer will think the first thing she says is asking him about his brother. Something is going on with her and the brother.
I am going to say right now, if they thought that this was some kind of a clever plot twist, you see it a mile away. Like you said, not only does she ask, but when the brother does show up, she gladly shares her goblet with him immediately. And we're like, yeah, there's something more going on.
And then Willem Dafoe as the fool. And I love his character. Even though he was not played for laughs, he was played for scares, I think. You can't help but revel in this guy's performance here. So he plays the fool who says what everybody's thinking. And he says it in a very ribald way that the queen and the brother are going to fornicate or something. Yeah. And then the brother takes out his sword to kill him. And then King Ethan stops him saying, and you never really get the backstory between these two. No, hold your hand. He's talking in jest.
He's a fool.
He is a jester. That's what he does.
See, that's what I do in real life. I just lay it out there and they're like, what, you said that? I'm going to kill you. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking, man.
I don't know if you're aware of this or if you read this, but in this scene, when Willem Dafoe steps up as the jester,
I know exactly what you're going
and has what you assume is a fake set of genitals in his hand, which is like a comically oversized set that he's grabbing as he's saying this lecherously. I read that wasn't fake, that was actually him.
That was his member, Willem Dafoe. Yeah, wow.
I guess we can call him Willem Burl from this point on.
It's a deep cut right there. Does anybody even know who Milton Berle is anymore? Or the fact that he was notoriously had a huge dong. Oh my gosh. Oh, it didn't take long. Wow, no. It didn't take long. Yeah, he's on screen for 90 seconds.
I won't be able to watch Spider-Man the same way again. I won't. Can't.
Goblin, yeah. Although he did, his decaying severed head had probably more screen time than the actual Willem Dafoe.
Wow, they've come a long way since Ash in Alien. Ripley trying to write that severed head until suddenly that terrible jump cut where it's Ian Holm in the table.
Yeah. So you mentioned Conan, but this really is like I said, on the surface, it's Excalibur, it's Lion King, it's Gladiator. Obviously, you see the Hamlet, but this is the source material. And I know there's a lot of smarter people out there who can dive into the minutia of this all. But Eggers, from what I understand, this is about as historically accurate to the time period as we're going to get. I mean, right down to the clothing. I know there's some creative cheats here and there. And this was what, 914?
895 AD.
895. Yeah.
Is the beginning of the story.
I'm going to say right now, college film courses will be dissecting this movie for years.
I don't disagree with that statement. Some of the shots in here, those few scenes where you see the horse riding to Valhalla, beautiful.
Yeah, this actually took me by surprise, which is there are times when I watch a movie and I get caught up in the mechanics of it all, the camera angles. When we reviewed 1917, we knew, that Nolan had gone in and he was trying to make it look like it was one continuous camera shot. When I sat down into the movie and I watched this, I was just completely engrossed in the story. And like I said, there are, this is not for everybody. And I know some of the reviews are that slow, some of the plot points are very obvious or whatever, but it is just glorious to behold on screen. And there are a couple shots that are 4 minutes long, one continuous camera shot. The one that comes to mind is years later, after this whole thing with the king is taken out by his brother and Amleth goes on the run, disappears. And then they cut to 20 years later and he's part of this Viking troop that are berserkers. and they ingest these hallucinogenic mushrooms, I'm guessing, to get themselves into this frenzy before they attack this Slavic village. And that attack is all one shot, and it is unbelievable. It is really something to behold.
Yeah, and they do that a few times in here. The infamous naked final battle is held for quite some time in one shot.
So I mentioned last week, and I don't remember if it made it into the final cut, was the fact that I read an article where they talked about the fact that most of these guys should have been naked. If you want to be historically accurate, a lot of these guys would have been naked to make it seem even more feral, their attacks. They're wearing bear skins, or they're wearing wolf pelts and whatnot. But because of, they didn't want a hard R or an X, a lot of the genitalia were cut out, except for this final battle scene where these two guys are battling naked at the foot of a volcano. And that CG artist went in and created artificial genitalia to make it seem authentic. Obviously, they can't be wiggling around during a fight sequence and have someone.
You see, what's funny is it looked like they were wearing pants to me.
Well, so that's the thing, which is I found myself really hyper focused on their crotches, trying to see what these artisans had put in there, and I was embarrassed to say that I was preoccupied with trying to actually see their members.
Because if you didn't actually say anything last week, I would have assumed that they were wearing like skivvies. I didn't think that they were in the buff.
A lot of it's shot in shadow, and you can't. It's really hard to kind of discern any of that. But I really, the gates of hell. I'm not proud, but I found myself looking. So.
I don't judge. I don't judge.
That's a judge-free zone here.
What sets young Amleth on his revenge quest? King Ethan comes back home from battle and he's wounded. And he is dying. He's wounded so badly he's dying. I guess they stabbed him in the liver or the spleen or what have you. He has a nasty wound.
Substantial cut there.
Yeah. So he wants to initiate his son into manhood before he goes. So he gets the fool, the jester, Willem Dafoe, who is got pants on this time, thankfully. And again, with the hallucinogens, they give him some kind of hallucinogen. And like the Lion King, you'd mentioned the Lion King before, they go to see the Tree of Kings while they're under the influence. And all the corpses of previous kings are hanging in the tree. And as you get up into the upper branches, then you see the more recent ones, and they're not so decomposed up there. And then you see King Ethan, and then you see the little kid as his successor. Before they get into that section, they're on the ground. They're barking like dogs. Are you a dog? Are you a man? It felt like I was watching. Remember that old game that was a VHS tape? Yes, my gatekeeper. Yes, my gatekeeper. That's what I felt like Willem Dafoe was, the gatekeeper in that game.
The gatekeeper, that's right.
They're levitating at one point, so you don't know what's real and what's not, because it could be real in the world of this movie, you know?
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, which is, Eggers talked about this as well, which is the mysticism and, these rituals were just a part of their lives. They really, the whole idea of the Valkyrie, like that's just as real to them as the tree in front of them or the horse they're riding on. It's all very matter of fact in the movie. No, they don't question it. There's a whole fight sequence with when he's getting the sword. I guess it was all just in his head.
I think that that was some kind of weird time warp kind of a thing where he actually had to fight that corpse guy. I would like to think that was real anyway.
Okay.
To actually best that sword from him, and then
he's fighting with him, and then all of a sudden it just cuts.
It's back to him standing there,
and he just
on the throne. Yeah.
So,
but if he didn't fight him, he would never have gotten it. So,
right. Yeah.
I think it's as real as you make it. Right.
Well, that's exactly. You just you just go into this and you're like, all right, everything I'm seeing here is exactly the way it's playing out.
But of course, if you go back to that manhood initiation rite, the next morning, his father is ambushed by his brother, Fjolnir, and the kid runs into the forest. All the men chase after him because they want to kill him too. So Fjolnir is the rightful heir. And the one guy that catches him, Amleth bites his nose off.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And the guy for the rest of the movie is in the movie, but like Voldemort with no nose.
No nose. Yeah.
And that's his character's name, actually.
No nose?
Finner the Nose Stub is how he's credited.
We're going to get into some of these Viking names on the back end when we do 13th Warrior. Because, yeah, you did, you weren't like Bob Chandler or anything. You were whatever your name was and then whatever you were known for. So
riddle me this. So,
yes,
okay, so he kills King Ethan. Fjolnir kills King Ethan, carries away Queen Nicole on his shoulder, who's screaming, we think, spoiler alert, and this is what Amleth sees, who's hiding, looking at this. Now, there's a full-scale slaughter of the townspeople. Why would he do that if he's taking over this town?
Yeah, it didn't make it. That really didn't make much sense because, he was a bad king. And obviously,
definitely,
anybody who thought that
he's not instilling support in his people on his first day. Definitely not.
I don't know. So anyways, the poor kid goes on the run. Simba, he's out of the pride. So
you see him rowing his boat away into the ocean as a 12-year-old crying, with his page boy haircut still. I shall avenge you, father. And then suddenly you flash forward and he's Alexander Skarsgård as a berserker, as we had mentioned before.
And it's him because he still has the same necklace on.
He and his brethren are about to decimate a town. Now, this is where I took a step back from this character because he doesn't actively participate in the maiming and burning of women and children, but he is a passive observer of all this. And in doing so, he is condoning it. So I didn't like this character from this point on, and that never wore off for the rest of the movie.
But I think it's the sensibility that we have as human beings now did not exist back then. This was it is very unflinching. There are no good guys. It's kill or be killed. Yeah. But if that's the case, then you'd also like Fjolnir. Well, that's what they did. They killed their brother and took his wife. Yeah. It is very, like I said, it's very unflinching. It doesn't pass judgment. This is just the way the world is. I felt it was a little hard to swallow that this Amleth, who was Mr. Oh, Daddy page boy, is suddenly like #1 berserker who could take out Wolverine in 5 minutes, regardless of his healing abilities. This guy should be Wolverine, by the way. You don't see those 20 years in between. And I want to know what gym are these guys going to? These guys are ripped and cut. Well, I think that there were some historical gold gyms lying around there. Yeah. It's a no judgment zone. Yeah. No, I think that they said that the berserkers were probably these big, sinewy monster guys. Here they are. They're dressing up as bears. They're dressing up in wolves. They're down into hallucinogens to get them into this rage. I did see a review where people were saying that there's some serious toxic masculinity going on here. After seeing that Willem Dafoe scene, I would agree with that statement. You're still traumatized. I am. Like I said, this is gritty. This is down and dirty. I don't necessarily feel that it turned me off that he was an active participant in this. I mean, they don't shy away from the fact that the Vikings used slaves. They're going into these villages. They're taking these people. They're slaughtering everyone. Yeah, he was not slaughtering the women or the children, but like you said, he didn't stop anybody from doing that. You do you over there. But I just couldn't get past the glory of it all. It is, like I said, this is just unbelievable to look at. This is a fantastic painting. The backstory, just reading some of the push and pull that the director Eggers had with the studio, again, not having seen The Lighthouse or The Witch, I can't speak to them, but apparently his modus operandi is something more pulled back and slow paced and even more atmospheric. And he wanted to go in that direction with it. But the studio, of course, being a big studio with putting millions and millions of dollars in this, wants something entertaining. So a compromise had to be made. And I will say, I was never bored watching this movie. No, I agree. Yeah, no, he did not have Final Cut. But again, his third movie. One of the other movies I wanted to kind of reference because it really kept coming back to me was Apocalypto, which is Mel Gibson's.
Yeah.
But and Mel Gibson didn't really have that many directing credits under his name at the time, but he had the name cachet behind him to pull off a movie like this. This is very much an art house action flick. But like you said, there's a lot of downtime, but there's so much to look at. We didn't even talk about Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, well, she hasn't come into the story yet, but he meets this seer who is played by Bjork.
Bjork? Yeah, I'm like, oh, what a missed opportunity to actually wearing a dead swan.
Yeah,
would have been
it's true. It's true. And I don't think that she's actually acting. This is just her, because this is like in the aftermath of raising this town, that he just wanders into this cabin or whatever it is, and she's there, just like this entity that appears and is there to tell him his fate. That Fjolnir, the one that he's sworn revenge against, he's been usurped. The usurper has been usurped himself, and now he is hidden away in Iceland with his queen and his children. So now Amleth has to make his way to Iceland to get his revenge.
I want to go to Iceland now.
Yeah,
this is like a beautiful travel log right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in order to do so, he disguises himself as a slave
by cutting his hair.
Yeah. Nobody recognized him after that.
No, he did put the slave brand on him. But other than that, no one ever stopped to like do a head count on this little tiny boat and be like, wait a minute, where'd this guy come from? No, he just snuck on board. Talking about Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays Olga, one of the other slaves, doesn't even question it when he like just suddenly appears at her side in the boat after he swims on. Oh, you're another guy here. But from that point on, they're like co-conspirators in how to kill Fjolnir once they make it to Iceland. And Fjolnir is still not a good guy once we do catch up with him in Iceland, and his son that is now grown. Even worse now. He's even worse. Yeah, because he's no longer a king. Nope. That's what happens when you kill the entire village off. I know. How did he make it out alive if somebody usurped him? I don't know. He probably the whole family made it out alive. I feel like this guy was a chicken, and he probably ran during the night, sacrificed all of his staff. The actor, what's his name? Claes Bang. I didn't dislike him. I thought he was a worthy. He's worthy adversary. Yeah, I would say that. He was definitely a physical threat in a way, even though Amleth did have to have some wounds going on in order to really level the battlefield at the end, because this is an older guy that he's fighting. But so he ingratiates himself into this guy's home as a slave. So he spies on him. He spies on him and starts attacking him under the cover of night. And then reappears as a slave the next day. But this is stupid, by the way, because they can't figure out what's the one new element in this entire equation. All right, we just brought in a bunch of these new slaves, and now someone is slaughtering my men in the night. The only one that could possibly physically do everything that is being done here. No, we would never suspect him. No, but anyways, he moves up the ranks. He saves the son during the Quidditch match. What? I don't know what was going on there. I don't know what this game was that they were playing, but it was like Quidditch. You had to take the ball and hit it on the pole. And it was brutal. They're beating the crap out of each other. So the little kid, Fjolnir's little kid, runs out onto the field because his team is losing. So he thinks that running out onto the field is going to help his team score some points. And the big guy is going to kill this kid for coming on his field. So that was Amleth saves him and then ingratiates himself into the family while he's killing them one by one at night. Right. They'll never suspect a thing. But at this point, all he wants to do, because this kid, this is all, and this is part of the idea of the fate versus destiny thing, because Bjork's character tells him, you have to sacrifice your loved ones in order to sate your revenge. And this is all he knows is vengeance. He has this mantra, I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fjolnir. That's the only thing that's kept this guy going all these years is revenge. And so when he sees his mother, he's like, she's been held against her will. She's had kids with this guy. I need to free her. And when he finally confronts her and she realizes who he is, we find out pretty quickly she is the evil one. She is the bitch that set this all in motion. She had plotted with him from day one to kill King Ethan, to kill him. Yeah, we got him. Yeah, he's floating away. Don't worry about it.
But again, as we said earlier, it doesn't come as a surprise because again, her first line was asking about the brother.
She absolutely goes maniacal in this scene against him. And I thought it was great because, yeah, she could have just played it as oh, you know what? Your dad was a jerk and I hated him and you were a mistake. I was forced to have you. But she just, Nicole Kidman just goes all in on this character.
She does. Yeah. And then he says to her, but I saw you screaming. She goes, screaming. I was laughing.
I know that. Now this whole guy,
as he was carrying me away on his, now I got to watch this again to see, is she really laughing?
So this guy, his entire purpose, his existence is now shredded because everything he believed was inaccurate.
Now he wants to kill her too.
Oh, he does. He does. And that's a rough scene. That's, and you kind of think that's where he, this whole destiny thing was you got to give up your loved ones. He slaughters his mother and the little son.
And he does so using the Darksaber. Under under another name. But apparently this special sword that he needed to get to do this job was on the grounds already.
Yeah, this is another thing too, because he gets a vision and then he finds the warrior, the skeleton warrior that's guarding it.
But the second witch, the he witch tells him where to go. And apparently there's a witch in every single community. Everyone's got one.
Wow, wouldn't you want one?
It's like a McDonald's. It's like a McDonald's.
A McWitch.
Yeah.
He had Willem Dafoe's head, who was telling him, and I'm like,
no, was it actually Willem Dafoe's head or did it become Willem Dafoe's head?
No, I thought it was a severed head and he just brought it back to life to get
that he's been holding the head this whole time.
Yeah, that was my take.
Or it was just some dude's head that just becomes whoever he needs it to be whenever somebody wants to come talk to somebody that's dead.
I did. That's interesting that you said I did not pick up on that.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Listen, this is a movie that I plan on revisiting.
But when Willem Dafoe opens his eyes, he looks down. Where's my junk?
Right. What'd you do with it?
The Darksaber is what he needs to get. And as we said before, he has to best like a 10-foot tall corpse in order to get the Darksaber, which he does. And just like in Star Wars, you got to beat somebody to get it. He gets it in battle. And the Nightblade, they call it, right? The Nightblade feeds.
Nightblade, yeah. Yeah.
So that's who he's killing everyone with. And then he reveals himself to Queen Nicole, as we said. At one point, he and Olga decide to run. After he is captured by Fjolnir and is beaten, and this is, again, very reminiscent of Conan when they're hanging him on the tree, like when Tulsa Doom gets him and hangs him on the tree and he's beaten to a pulp, and then the crows come. And I was expecting another Conan bites the vultures scene in this, but no, it's his father. It's his father coming through the crows to release him from his chains. And then he and Olga run. They get in a boat and they run, and then he changes his mind. He jumps out of the boat. He's like, I'm going back to kill him.
He finds out that she's pregnant.
Yeah, he sees the vision of her and the twins.
Those were like Nosferatu looking babies, by the way. Like that was, I don't know what was going on with there. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. You can have those. But I think part of it is the fact that he realized, like I said before, all he knows is vengeance. So I don't know if he could necessarily let it go and just go and have a happy, normal life with this woman. And I think that was the sacrifice that he gave up to fulfill his destiny was to go to the gates of hell or whatever the volcano was and battle it out with this dude. But she had mystical powers too. Olga of the
birch forest. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's just accepted that this stuff exists in this world. And I think that's what really kind of blew me away was the fact that, she just called up the gods and boom, we got wind in our sails and off we go. Yeah. The one thing we didn't talk about, and I thought were really nice touches, and I think the studio actually insisted on this, are the title cards in runic, because it does jump all over the place from where they are and that, go into Iceland and all these other places. So I thought those were neat little touches. And
so once Amleth decides to go back and then Olga carries on with her escape on the boat to bring her unborn twins to safety, he goes back. That's when he ends up killing Nicole Kidman, who attacks him, and he does it in self-defense. And then the son, who's like 9 years old, jumps on his back, stabs him 50 times.
Yes.
It's like Chucky. He's like Chucky jumping on his back.
Yeah, no, you got to go, kid. Sorry.
So yeah, then he kills the kid, and then Fjolnir comes in. He's got nothing left except a naked volcano battle.
Yeah. Who did one of them like send out a memo? Like, oh yeah, by the way, no clothes. Don't bring your clothes. Like, how do they know just to like show? One shows up naked, the other one's not. And he's like, wait, clothing? No one told me. It's hot lava. Yeah, this is what Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight should have been.
Yeah, it should have been this.
Yeah.
That would have given new meaning to the term lightsabers, huh?
I got the high ground.
You ever see that John Ritter movie with the glow-in-the-dark
yes.
Condoms? Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty funny, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, they end up in this battle royale, just the two of them. Although Amuleth or whatever his name is there, he's pretty hurting.
He is, because he's already mortally wounded from that kid that stabbed him 50 times.
Yeah, no, Chucky got him first.
Yeah.
So, but it's still epic, still an epic battle.
But Fjolnir had him for like a good 10 seconds, and he doesn't deliver at the end. And then Almuth gets up and just chops his head off.
Yeah.
He like hesitated. I don't know what was going on there.
Little creative hesitation there. Gonna look over here for a second. You gather yourself.
See, at the end, you get that visual because you're teased throughout the movie about this maiden king. Originally, I thought, did they mean Olga? Is that?
Yeah.
But it's one of the twins that she's going to have, because he sees a vision of the Tree of Kings. And as the camera pans up to the very top, he sees his twins, and it's the girl who's got the crown on and the sword. But my question is, how is Olga going to make anybody believe that she's a queen and that these kids are heirs?
He gave the guy on the boat his father's ring, and he said something to him to the effect that show this to anybody or trade it for, I don't remember now, but yeah, you're right. It's kind of like, no, I'm telling you the truth.
And talk about
royal heirs. Yeah, sure they are.
And even relatively, when you line this guy up with other Vikings, he would look like the least trustworthy of the lot, this guy in the boat. So if he actually listened to him and didn't sell that ring for his own,
now I got a lovely maiden in my boat.
Exactly. So. Yeah. Yes, I do agree that this is engrossing. It is stupendous in terms of visuals. Yeah. The battles are satisfying. So if you're coming for that, if you're coming for some Viking bloodshed, you will get it, and you'll get it good.
Yeah. Skarsgård did all of his own stunts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is pretty much practical. I think the only thing that I read, CG was employed to remove the safety harnesses and the wire work. Because obviously these guys are scaling trees or scaling walls of, they're jumping, they're riding on horses. So you got to be safe. So a lot of this stuff had safety features built in that were CG down. But otherwise, this is all practical stuff. We need to talk about the score. Just unbelievable, about his tribal and it just was, I keep using the word immersive, but that's exactly what it was. It just surrounds you and envelops you and you become part of the story. I absolutely loved this. I was blown away.
It's not doing well at the box office.
Yeah, I want to change that. Go see this movie.
If you're making more than what it costs to make your movie, then you're in a good place. If you're not, then you're not.
Yeah. Also think about the fact that you couldn't go anywhere, and maybe it's just what I was watching on TV, but there was a lot of promotion around this movie, a big push, a lot of advertising. That sometimes that's twice the budget of the actual movie. It's all about opening weekend box office now. It's, we saw the Batman opens, and then 2 weeks later it's on HBO Max. This is, like I said, this is the type of movie made specifically for cinemas. It's an experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Now, some interesting side notes on this. Thorir the Proud, who was the jerk older son of Fjolnir, who gets his heart stolen. So he was Amleth's cousin. He was going to be played by Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise, who is Alexander's brother. So that would have been an interesting battle between the two of them if that had played out, if he had actually played that character. Nicole Kidman, in fact, only 9 years older than Alexander Skarsgård. A lot of the main cast went away with gifts from the production.
Oh, I read. Yeah, go ahead.
You read this?
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman got a sword. I don't know if she got the Darksaber, but she got a sword. Defoe got a boat. He got a whole boat.
A longship. Where are you going to put that?
Yeah. Bjork got 3 horses. What would you like, Bjork? I would like 3 horses, please. Alexander Skarsgård, he got the thong that he wore in the final battle in a frame.
I think he got shafted.
I think he did.
He could have just stolen that off the set. Like, no one else wants that. Here's a blood-stained thong. Yeah, it's all yours, buddy. So, yes, I cannot say enough about this. I was blown away, as I've said this numerous times.
So don't hold back. Don't hold back. Out of 5 popcorn buckets.
And this is teetering. I think that I need to see it again. But it is teetering on a potential 5 bucket.
Ooh.
It's right on the precipice. I will give it 4 3/4 buckets.
4 3/4.
This is a cinematic masterpiece.
See, I'm going to go 1 bucket less, 3 3/4. The only reason being I had to take emotionally a step back after the opening scenes. I couldn't hang with him after it. So I wasn't as invested as you would be, or maybe somebody else would be in his character. But I completely am on board, and I agree that the movie is just amazing to behold in all respects. But I just could not get behind the character. So I wasn't really with him all the way. So because of that, I'm just pulling back my buckets a little, 3 3/4.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair though. Like I said, you can't help but kind of put 21st century aesthetics in, what we consider to be the human thing to do. I think as a compromise,
probably if Eggers had his way, he would have been killing women and children and throwing them into the house to burn. But probably the studio is like, let's not have them do that.
Yeah. I think from what I understand, I think the studio notes and the studio interference may have helped this. Because it could have been to the point where it was completely unrecognizable to an American audience or, a modern day audience, and no one would have connected with it whatsoever.
It's quite the experience, though. It is definitely an experience. And you rarely get that at the movies these days.
Yeah. This is I feel like this whole Viking thing is, Valhalla Rising, and obviously we have the Vikings TV show, which I have yet to even embrace, but this could be like the next Western type of, we go through these phases, Gladiator ushered in a lot of the sand and sandal stuff back in the day. I've seen comparisons to Lawrence of Arabia in the idea of this epic journey. I
think that its legend will grow over time. I think it will.
I hope so.
Become a major cult movie.
I don't want this to be like a movie where it's like, well, it never made its money back and it's got a fringe audience. This is definitely something to behold.
Yeah, I just think it'll take time for it to find that wider audience.
Agreed. So,
and it should
get out there. Go see it. I know. Listen. Everyone's out seeing Doctor Strange right now, so the cinema should be pretty empty.
Yeah, let me tell you, for the second time, the Nicolas Cage movie, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, being the first. Again, I was alone in the theater.
Really? I actually had a fair. Well, you had to go like in an afternoon.
Yeah, so that's part. It's an R-rated movie, and I went at 12 noon to go see it.
Did you have to take a day off from work?
I did. Yes.
See, do you see what we have to do for you people? This is what happens. Lives get in the way, and all of a sudden it's like, we got to see this movie. What am I going to do? Well, I guess I'm going to have to take a day off from work.
Well, hey, I could think of worse things to do on a day off from work. It's true. better than going to the dentist or the doctor.
All right. So there we go. I like to say that we're leaving Valhalla, but that's not the case.
That's not the case.
We're doubling down.
Yeah. So let's go get some mead, and we'll be back.
Mutton chops, maybe?
Hi, I'm Chili Dilly, the personality pickle. Packed in a jar for the freshest flavor. Served cold in a sack for you to savor. So dainty to eat, no muss, no fuss. An ideal snack for all of us. Crisp, tender, and tasty with a bit of spice. Buy one now. Taste how nice. Snack bar clerks will knock themselves silly, speeding your order for a real chili dilly.
Okay, we're back. 13th Warrior.
1999. That's a long time ago. I got this from the library, but it is on Tubi. I realized after the fact.
Yes, same thing here. I got it from the library as well. So it was the 99 or 2000 DVD.
I don't think that this has ever been released on Blu-ray.
Really?
And this is the one thing I was kind of lamenting, was the fact that I wish that this had been cleaned up, because again, there's some really spectacular camera work going on here, cinematography, and I think it gets a little bit lost on the DVD because of the low resolution. Yeah. So whatever. This is a movie that I've championed for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's one of those DVDs where it's only got a theatrical trailer. When you click on special features, I'm like, this is not very special, nor is it a feature.
Because if you realize the backstory of this, there's a whole other movie out there.
Yeah,
that was made. So I love it on the big and proud, right on the front cover of that DVD. You know, it says, from the director of Die Hard and the writer of Jurassic Park. And you're like, oh, I'm in. Based on Michael Crichton's book, Eaters of the Dead. Eaters of the Dead. Yes. And I know that there are certain people out there who like that book and compare it to this movie and be like, these are not the same things. And there's a reason for that. Eaters of the Dead was the original title. It was a 127-minute movie directed by McTiernan, released for test audiences, and it scored horribly. So the studio pulled it and basically brought in Crichton to direct reshoots.
McTiernan is fired and Crichton directs the reshoots.
Right.
Now, when you say directs reshoots, it sounds like, he directed pishop shots or something easy. No, he changed the ending. There were some major things that they overhauled about the movie.
Yeah, changed some characters, reshot. Yeah, so there is a completely different movie out there of this.
So it's difficult to say, are you watching a Michael Crichton movie or are you watching a John McTiernan movie? Only I guess either of them really knows the truth.
That original has never been shown anywhere. Not, like you said, it's not like it's shown up on, a bonus feature on a Blu-ray. So you don't know what's where the changes were made or what the difference is, a tone, any of it. But like I said at the top of the show, watching this movie, and I've seen it numerous times, I've always thought, especially when they get into the caves toward the end, very dark, very, scary almost. And now it's almost laughable. It's almost a comedy compared to the Northman.
Because, they're cracking jokes. And the one guy, and again, I don't know, the guy that looks like Robert Patrick, and I thought it was Robert Patrick through the entire movie. The guy with the Colonel Sanders goatee, who's Ahmad's best friend of the Vikings. When you compare it to the Northman, it's extremely lighthearted in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, there's a running joke through the whole thing. They're making fun of Ahmed's horse being a dog, because it's so tiny.
So, but like I said earlier, Antonio Banderas plays Ahmed. He's called the Arab by every other character in the movie, and obviously he is not in reality. So whether or not this gave the filmmakers pause, I doubt at the time.
I don't think that was their stumbling block. I don't know.
And like we said at the beginning of the movie, he's got dark makeup. They try their best to make him look the part, but again, he makes no change to his accent or anything.
No.
But as the movie goes on, he gets lighter and lighter in complexion. It's almost like maybe Crichton threw that out the door. Like when he came on, let's forget about the makeup when we're doing the reshoots here.
Yeah. They're battling these creatures that are pretty, again, they're almost like they're berserkers, basically. But there's a scene where he's first integrated into the group, and they're passing around this bowl that they are washing their face and spitting into. They're drinking from it, swishing out their mouths, blowing their nose, and then putting it back in the bowl and passing it around. This was the most revolting thing I have seen on screen in a long time.
Yeah.
This was horrific.
And of course, he's the last one to get the bowl. And he's like, no.
He's like,
No. And when he says no, he says it like 10 times in a row. No.
You know what I think would be great is if someone goes back and just replaces him with this Puss in Boots character in this movie. I think it would be fun.
And it opens with a bit of foreshadowing. You see him in the Viking in the longboat, right? And they're on the rolling seas in a storm. And it's the worst CG. Like when
That's 99.
the camera pulls back from them and it's terrible. It's like a previs shot. Like,
yeah, but to be honest with you, you see it up front, and then 20 minutes later they cut to it finally. And it's the same exact shot. And it's like they were so proud of that. They're like, we're going to show it twice. Look at this. They're not really on the water. Yeah, water is probably one of the hardest things to animate. But like you said, the guy liner early on, he's got this hard-edged eyeliner around his eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or if it was supposed to make him look even more exotic, but it's very obvious.
So the movie he's a poet, and he's in Baghdad, right at the beginning of the movie, and he is stepping out with somebody's wife.
Yeah, this is almost like a throwaway line where they just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, you're being exiled.
They made him an ambassador to the north, so they just sent him up north. And that's where he encounters the Northmen. But first, they're attacked by the Tartars, along with the cavity creeps, like coming up behind him. But the presence of the Northmen scare these bandits away. So he and Omar Sharif, who is his traveling partner, they hitch a ride with the Northmen to their village. And once they're there, somebody comes from another village from the north. There was a little kid coming in saying that there's these monsters that are attacking their town. So now we have a Seven Samurai aspect of this. They've got to go help the
13.
Town.
I think the same number of dwarves that show up in The Hobbit.
They don't really explain. Do they explain why they need 13 and no more, no less 13 warriors to go help this? This
was like the soothsayer, the bone reader there. She just kind of threw it out. And she's like, oh, 13 of you must go. And of course, they pick the 12. And of course, the last bone she picks up is dark. So, they're going to pick the Arab. It's like, come on.
But they say the 13th needs to be somebody that's not in the tribe, right? That's what.
Meanwhile, they're all part of the tribe except for him. So.
And Omar Sharif, right? So he could have gone.
Is true. Yeah. He's like, screw this. I'm too old for this crap. So off he goes. But yeah, again, you're speaking a completely different language, and he just sits there around the campfire listening to them talk, and then figures out what they're saying.
Over the course of 2 days, right?
2 days? That's pretty
Didn't take them 1 day. Took them 2 days to learn their entire language.
I'm still on the second CD of Babel, and I barely got past Hola. This is well loved in the people in the know that know of this movie.
Right. And I love the fact that after he learns their language, they kind of think he's cool after he learns the language, but it really takes after they're making fun of his horse that he jumps over one of the other guys on his horse, which looks like the shot from the special edition of Star Wars when Han steps over Jabba the Hutt's tail.
Well, you didn't believe that? More believable than the water.
It was. So after he jumps over on his little horse, one of the big horses, and they're like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. He's one of us now.
Yeah, he's all right. He's okay.
So they give him like a darksaber, right, to yield, which is longer than he is. At one point, he's like, where's the metal worker? Is there a metal guy here somewhere? He's over there. Yeah, like after an hour, it's like a completely different sword.
Yeah, I just go make my own. But again, that's comic relief where he's trying to handle this giant broadsword. Yeah, it's a lot funnier than I remember it. And like I said, when they get into the caves, I remember that being very dark, and these creatures, which are just men. I guess in a book, they're cannibalistic Neanderthals. They never really tell you what these things are, other than the fact that they're just men. They find out he's like, oh, just a man. To me, they're berserkers.
They do build a lot of great atmospherics with the Wendels, as they're called, these cannibals, the monsters. Because as a viewer, you're keyed into this. That they're just men with, bare heads or whatever when they're riding horses coming in. But the characters in the movie don't know that. They think that they're fighting monsters. And the build up to their first appearance, they search that village and they see the dead bodies that are all strewn about and mutilated. It is building up their first appearance pretty nicely when they have that battle.
The idea of the glowworm of this long,
which they think is a dragon, right? Which they think is a dragon.
No, just guys on horses with torches. But again, visually, that's very impressive through the mist, and you see this coming down. And I can imagine, in those times you see that and you'd be like, holy crap. Because again, if you follow the logic of the Northman, which is, all of this stuff exists in their world, dragons and we talked about the Valkyrie and these demons kind of a thing. It's just part of normal everyday life.
Now, the major battle that they have first, now the Wendells completely obliterate our 13 warriors in the town. They don't kill them all, but they are winning the battle, yet they retreat at the end. Where are they going? They've won the battle. If they just stuck around, they would have killed everybody. And I love, of course, it's Antonio Banderas has to have his Tom Cruise and War of the Worlds moment where he's the one that figures out. It's the birds. Yeah. Look at the birds.
Where do bears live? In a cave.
How do you hunt a bear? In a cave.
Well, that's because I think the soothsayer tells them they need to go into the ground.
They want us to think they are bears. They wear bears. They look like bears. They have claws like bears. They want us to think they are bears. Oh.
So they're not bears? You ever seen a bear ride a horse? No, but I've seen one ride a unicycle.
And they keep finding little statues of what they call Mother in the Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the crazy lady tells them how to beat them is by killing the mother and the head warrior. And so they figure that if they're bears, they live in caves, and that's where the mother is.
All deductive reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is fascinating because I read that originally that the mother was actually like a mother, where it was an older woman.
Older woman, right. Yeah, this is where the reshoots come in, where Crichton completely recast her.
Because they didn't want to see the heroes killing an old woman. So they had to make her a little bit more formidable and younger. So, and she didn't look like anybody's mother to me, though. She looked more like Bjork in the Northman.
Some shekels on her head.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about this. The idea that there is a completely other film of it. Even they threw away the score. They brought in Jerry Goldsmith for this, but I guess this Graham Revel created an hour worth of music and they just abandoned it. It's we're going to go a different direction.
And Goldsmith is he was chomping at the bit after his score got thrown out for Legend. He finally got a chance to do it himself. He's that'll
but
teach
at least there's a Blu-ray out there where you can hear it.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
Someone needs to jump on this because I would really like to see this original cut.
This is a Touchstone movie, so it's Disney, right? This is owned by Disney.
It is Disney now. Yeah, that means it'll never get released. They've locked it away in their vault.
That it's sitting right next to Song of the South in the archives.
Poor old Uncle Remus. Yeah, zippity doo out no more, my friend.
But they get into this cave. This is the most inattentive bunch of Death Eaters ever. They just run rampant in this cave and nobody sees them. These Vikings with torches and talking at voice level to each other,
dropping into the water, falling off the sides. It's like, don't worry about it. They're not paying attention.
And so then once they are found out, after they kill the mother, they have to get out. And so they follow the underground stream downwards. They figure it has to lead out, but then it goes under a rock. So now they have to figure, do we stand and fight or do we swim under the rock and see if we can make it to the outside? So of course they choose escape. And as they're swimming through, they pass Shelley Winters, who was going the other way.
She's still there. She's still trying to find her way out.
Yeah.
Once again, that's a pretty deep cut there beside the adventure, my friend. Wow.
So at the end, so what they don't end up doing when they do breach the caves is kill the lead warrior. They kill the mother, but they don't do the second thing, which is kill the lead horned warrior.
Yeah, well, she told him straight up. That guy's got all the power, man. Mm-hmm. Get rid of him.
So, of course, they're very upset once the mother is killed, the Death Eaters. And the one, Bolvi, was the lead Viking. He was like the guy who was going to be king when they got back. He gets scratched with a poisonous bear claw by the mother before he cuts her head off. So he's like on death's door, but yet he still has the strength to battle the Horned King, who is the lead warrior of the Death Eaters.
These Death Eaters didn't do their research because bears don't have horns. That's neither here nor there. But that's a great scene where he comes dragging. He can barely stand up, and he's dragging his sword to join in on the fight. And you're like, all right, this guy.
And he takes that guy out pretty easily too. For somebody that's about to die, who can't even stand up, he easily takes out the. And it's almost immediately, as soon as that horn guy goes down, I guess we got to stop fighting and leave at this point. Yeah.
They're like, damn it. They took out Bob.
Now what do we do? I don't know how to fight anymore.
He owed me $5. What's going on? Yep. No, we got to retreat. We got to regroup. Let's go see what Mother says. Oh, wait, she's dead too.
And so much 90s slow-mo during this battle.
I know. It's glorious though.
Yeah.
It really is. This needs to, somebody release this. Someone over there touched this. Touchstone is still a thing. Is it still a thing?
I don't know if it's still a thing. As a matter of fact, I don't know.
Disney owns everything now. What's going on over there?
Somebody that maybe at Shout Factory could go and get their hands on this original cut.
Yeah, one of the Viking ships is actually a playground in the Norwegian pavilion at Epcot.
I have walked by a million times.
But never
realized what it was. I'd never seen the movie before either, so it wouldn't have meant anything. But yeah. Man.
I was disappointed to learn that the whole cave sequence was shot in a soundstage. It was not shot on location. So
that's like Goonies type soundstage as well. That's a pretty impressive set if that's the case.
Yeah. I also read that I don't know which actor, but one of them almost drowned doing that sequence.
Oh, really?
I think it was Antonio Banderas that jumped in to save.
Of course.
Maybe that's what happened. All of his makeup came up in the water.
Known as one of the biggest box office bombs in history. In history.
Well, that's too late now, right?
That's again because of the budget. Because obviously it cost much more to do these reshoots. So it was like filming two movies.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done. In the end, it cost $160 million, and that's I think with advertising costs.
That's 99 money. That's a huge chunk of change. I don't even think Phantom Menace costs that much.
So it only made $61 million at the box office. So because of that disparity between what it costs and what it made, it's known as one of the biggest bombs in history.
Yeah.
Normally, I think you'd want, $61 million even today for a smaller movie would be a good showing, a great showing. But not for something that cost $160 million to make.
No, that's a lot of coin right there.
Critics at the time were actually split. Lisa Schwartzbaum from Entertainment Weekly, who hated everything.
She hates everything. Give it to Lisa. She hates it.
A-, called it exhilarating.
Wow. I wonder what she thinks of the Northman.
Oh, I don't know. She's still reviewing, just not for Entertainment Weekly. She's still reviewing movies for something. Right? I think so. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 out of 4 stars.
What?
Yeah.
Roger Ebert?
Here's his quote. Quote.
Please.
Lumbers from one expensive set piece to the next without taking the time to tell a story that might make us care.
Wow, Roger.
But I thought it was fun. If I had seen this in 1999, I would have been satisfied. It would have been a fun night out, which unfortunately the Northman wasn't for me.
Sorry. Now, there's a lot you can say about the Northman. Fun is not that is not an adjective you can use. Yes.
Director Stuart Gordon was first attached to this in the early 90s, and he is famous for the horror films Reanimator and From Beyond. So what he would have done with this, I don't know.
You would have gotten a lot more of these Death Eaters.
I think you would have.
More in-your-face ghouls.
The original didn't have the final battle between Bolvi and the lead Wendell. I wonder how the original ended then.
I think they just it was a giant game of Jenga, and whoever lost went on their way. I guess we'll never know. This thing's locked away in a vault somewhere again.
I tell you this: if Tom Cruise was playing Ahmed, he would have been the one killing the lead Wendell, and not anybody else.
Well. I say still go check it out.
So how many buckets would we offer for the 13th Warrior?
Once again, I'm going to go high. This is a movie I championed for us to cover. 4.25 for me. You know, I mentioned this before, just the idea that it was at one point a very dark movie, and now not so. But I still enjoyed the hell out of it watching it the other night.
I did as well. And so this is interesting because in the final mix, I'm going to go 3.5 buckets. Because it was entertaining and I had fun. I liked The Northman a little bit better than 13th Warrior. Even though I didn't think it was fun or necessarily enjoyable, I recognized the artistic achievement that it was. So I think The Northman came out a little bit ahead for me, even though I was a little bit turned off by the lead character. But still, 13th Warrior, decent, fun. If you like this kind of thing, I highly recommend it.
There you go. I highly recommend it as well.
Yeah.
What do you think your Viking name would have been? Like all these guys are like Rethel the Archer and Edgar the Silent. It's like, did they just like pick? Did you get to pick your own name, or did somebody like choose it for you?
I would think, any good nickname is chosen for you. If you have to give yourself a nickname, then that generally you don't have. That means you don't have any friends to give you a nickname. No,
I just
call me the Maestro. Yeah, that's like the Seinfeld guy. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that somebody would label me Ufa the Portly. That would be my name forever. Ufa, here he comes. I'm not really sure that that's a Scandinavian translation, but so be it. So are we doing this? What else did you do this week?
Well, I could say that I finished Moon Knight this week. If you did you as well,
mention Moon Knight as well. So let's talk about Moon Knight, because I don't think we're going to cover it on the show.
No, I don't think so.
But yes, 6 episodes wrapped on Disney Plus, and I will say, I think it's fair to say this is not typical MCU fare, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It's not. And being a fan of the '80s run of Moon Knight.
Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yes, I love the covers of the original Moon Knight. And even then, it was outside of the normal, the Marvel universe at the time.
Yeah, I think on the surface, you're like, oh, it's Batman.
But it was a fringe title. So you had all this Egyptian lore. You had the fact that maybe Mark Spector was insane. And the comic kind of led you to believe that he was just insane.
Yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job on this show of kind of showing the schizophrenic nature of this character.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like, well, you don't even see Moon Knight. He's only in it for like, it's like, but I think all these other shows like WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, these are characters that have already been established. We've seen them in multiple movies. And now they're kind of getting their own little thing where they can flesh out the character. But this is like we've never seen this character before. So you can't just like throw him out there in episode 1 and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, this is who and what he is. I thought this was a great setup for this character. Is he going to show up in the Avengers? I don't know.
I don't think this does definitely exist in the MCU because there are some references here and there. But I don't think he would play well in the sandbox. Not that he wouldn't get along with them, but I just don't think that the two things should necessarily coincide.
This could be a guy that could pass on the night, against a Daredevil kind of a little more easy street level, even though, you're really digging into that Egyptian lore and that mythology of this larger. I really enjoyed this. And Oscar Isaac kills it.
I love his portrayal of Stephen Grant. That's probably my favorite thing about the show is Stephen Grant is one of his personalities. And he got a lot of crap for the English accent, but I thought he was dead on. My wife actually asked me, is he English? Oscar Isaac, is he just faking the American accent in these other movies? No.
Yeah, that always blows me away when somebody fakes an American accent.
Yeah. But a lot of these filmmakers recently and in a lot of the comic book movies are leaning heavily into kaiju action. And Moon Knight is no exception. You've got some kaiju action going on with the pyramids in the background. But my question is that actually happening where people can see it, or is it just like something that Moon Knight and
Yeah, that's a good question.
Harrow
actually.
can see?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
Because you'd think the Avengers would show up if that was if everybody could.
That's any Spider-Man. Someone invades the city or whatever. It's like, where's the rest of these guys? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with any comic book when you have a
so many of these characters. Yeah,
all running around in Manhattan. Someone has to look out their window. There you go. So yes, Moon Knight. That's about all I had time for this week. I'm hoping next week I get time to go see Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, me too. I can also add the Joe Bob Briggs Show came back for its 4th season. So that started last week. And the first movie they did was Night of the Living Dead.
Ooh,
which
right up your alley.
Unbelievably so. He said that this was in all of his hosting career, this is the first time he's hosted Night of the Living Dead. So he had some interesting backstories that I'd never heard before. So
what? Really?
Yeah. So if you've got Shudder, I recommend watching Night of the Living Dead on the Joe Bob Briggs Last Drive-In show.
What are we pairing up with Doctor Strange about?
Oh, next week it's going to be a Sam Raimi fest. So we've got a second Sam Raimi movie, Quick and the Dead.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen this.
Wow. This is a favorite of mine. Being an Evil Dead fan and being very aware of what Sam Raimi was doing at all times in terms of film, I saw this when it first came out, and I've loved it ever since. Quick and the Dead. It is star-studded.
I was shocked when I saw some of the people that are in this. Leonardo DiCaprio? How old? Russell Crowe? How old is this movie?
95, I think.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, this is pre-Titanic.
I'm now looking at the movie poster because I was setting up our graphics. They misspelled Russell Crowe's name.
Did they? Without an E or with...
No, only one L.
Oh, okay.
Or is that how he spells?
I don't know.
I just didn't know.
I'm
pretty sure Russell has 2 L's. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. And it definitely won't be the last.
But yeah, Gene Hackman is the bad guy in a Western.
And Sharon Stone?
Sharon Stone at the height of her mid-90s powers there.
Hubbub.
Yeah, it gave the fact that we're covering it gave me an excuse to get the Blu-ray. So I should have it well in time to watch before we talk about it next week.
Nice. I have to look if I'm going to have to rent it from the library. I don't know what other options I have, if it's available on streaming at all. I don't know. Oh, it's on Netflix.
It is. All right.
There you go.
So if you've got Netflix, you can watch along with us.
Yeah, it is. You can rent it on Prime for $2.99 as well, but it is on Netflix is what it's telling me.
Okay, excellent.
And IMDb does not lie. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad you made it through. We are now ascending to Valhalla. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, we are. Yep.
We're moving on.
And we are finally, after however many starts and stops the release for Doctor Strange had, because I think this was another one that got pushed back a few times.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting because keep in mind, and I'm going to keep this in mind when I watch it, that initially this was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home.
But I think that they actually went back and tweaked Spider-Man because it was backed up.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what they did.
Yeah, I'm curious. So awesome. Well, that was entertaining. And to all my Viking brethren out there, Skull. And we'll be back next week. All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your fellow movie nerd friends. It means the world to us and helps our listenership grow.
You can also find us on all of the socials, Instagram and Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just look for the Popcorn Bucket.
You can help support this show by visiting our TeePublic page for some TMI branded goodies such as hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. tpublic.com/TMI Confessionals, all one word.
A 5-star review would be incredibly nice as well. I'm just saying.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week. We'll save some popcorn for you.
Father's back. Father's back. Could you bring me a severed head?